Develop a spiritual appreciation of art. In order to overcome the chaotic destructiveness of atheism, we must educate religious people to be physically healthy as well as spiritually healthy. We must help them develop a refined sensitivity and awareness of the beauty of emotions. This is possible only through the involvement in the wonderful beauty that exists within music, poetry, nature, and all of the arts. A beautiful home, a beautiful spouse, a beautiful furniture expand the mind of a person. Berachot 57b. I truly think Rembrandt was a tzaddik. When I lived in London, I used to visit the National Gallery. My favourite pictures were those of Rembrandt. I truly think that Rembrandt was a tzaddik. Do you know that when I first saw Rembrandt's works, they reminded me of the legend about the creation of light? We are told that when God created light, it was so strong and penetrating that one could see from one end of the world to the other. However, God was afraid that the wicked might abuse it. What did he do? He reserved that light for the righteous to use when the Mashiach would come. But now and then there are great men who are blessed and privileged to see it in their lifetime. I think that Rembrandt was one of them, and that the light in his pictures is the very light that was originally created by God. Poetry clarifies the meaning of life. Faith is the poetry of life, the poetry of reality, the poetry of existence. A poem gives us the most profound insight, the deepest and most penetrating understanding of an idea, which dry words could never capture. Therefore, the most authentic perspective of life is specifically within the poetic side of life, and not in the mundanity that can be described in prose. Woe to those who want to strip their lives of the beauty of poetry. They will lose all the depth of life and all of its inner truth. Prose itself only has meaning insofar as it is rooted in the poetry of life. Poetic eyes see spirituality in everything. If you will, human being, look at the divine light inside everything. Look at the heavenly life and how it spills into every direction and corner of reality. The divine light is in the spiritual as well as the physical. It stands before the eyes of the body as well as the eyes of the soul. Contemplate the wonders of creation. Look at the divine life within them. Do not perceive the universe as a faded image that is placed in your line of vision from afar. Rather, you must be familiar with the reality in which you live. Know yourself and your world. Know the thoughts of your own heart and of every visionary and philosopher. Find the source of life that is within you, that is beyond you, and that surrounds you. Know the glory of life of which you are a part. You must take the love inside you and elevate it to its powerful, refined and beautiful source. Expand this love to all of its branches, to anything that has the soul of life inside. It is only the fault of the perceiver that causes the light to appear diminished. Look into the lights and into their essence. Do not let the descriptive names swallow your soul. Indeed, the words and letters are given into your hands. You are not given into their hands. Rise up higher and higher. You have enormous strength. You have spiritual wings. You have the wings of a powerful eagle. Do not deny them, or they will deny you. Seek them, and they will find you immediately. Write down your inspiration immediately. It is a very important thing to watch one's thoughts and imagination and to write down every idea as soon as it is born in the depths of the soul. One must watch over it as it comes from the hidden realms to the revealed light, and record all the impressions that one feels along the path of its development. A new spiritual language. A letter to Rabbi Yitzchak Levi, secretary of Merkaz HaRav Yeshiva and one of its co-founders, September 26, 1913. I want to encourage you and all the youth who seek to be immersed in a life of spirituality concerning the development of writing. We must acquire for ourselves the skill of writing. It must be in a style that is full of life in all of its different forms, both informative and poetic. If there is one among us who feels an inner pull towards song and poetry, please do not neglect this talent. Now, even though I am always telling myself and others that the most important character traits we must have are peace and kindness, we must nevertheless be prepared for the spiritual war, the inner and external Amalek. We must arm ourselves with the weapon of our time, the pen. In order to attract the people of our generation, we must translate all of our holy writings, the principles and emotions of almost the entire Torah, into a modern language. This can be compared to Ezra the scribe, who modified the words of the Torah. One of the main reasons he did this was in order to help his generation draw closer to understanding it. An enormous collection of spiritual writings is inaccessible, and it is our responsibility to draw from them each day and translate them into a modern language. We must utilize the daily and weekly newspaper Hamoria. We must not take for granted any opportunity to put words of truth and charm into a book. A yeshiva should teach creativity. Letter to Rabbi Yitzchak Halevi Herzog, Rav Kook's successor as chief Ashkenazi rabbi in the land of Israel, August 1st, 1908. I'm not saying that all people in yeshiva should be experts in all realms of thought. Obviously, this is above most people's ability. Only a few unique souls are born with the talent of absorbing knowledge from all perspectives, while the majority of people can only become experts in a specific area. As it is taught, a person only learns that topic which his heart desires. Avodah Zarah 19a. Yet, despite all this, a yeshiva is obligated to give to the Jewish people anything it lacks. And since one of the main things that is drawing people's hearts and having a great effect on our generation is creative literature and poetry, we must therefore also make sure that we have religious experts in this field. Indeed, it should not be an accepted fact that every talented writer and famous poet is an atheist, or one who has already given up his religion. We must break this stigma and show the world the poetic beauty that comes from those who are immersed in the source of the nation's natural life, from those who are faithful to God, the source of the waters of life. A letter to the Betzalel Academy of Arts and Design, 1908. There are people who say that creating a school of Jewish arts should not be a priority at this present period of time. They say that there are more urgent and important issues. Nevertheless, a desire that comes from the heart of its people, this very yearning, is a sign that there is life and hope for success. Yet, this sign of life is not just a hollow symbol. It may bring many practical benefits. The development and growth in Jewish art will bring financial profits to many Jewish families living in the land of Israel. And its fruit will be for food, and its leaf will be for healing. Yecheskel 47:12. In addition, it would help develop emotions of beauty and purity for the children of Zion. It will lift up many depressed souls and help give them a clearer and more enlightened perspective on the beauty of life and nature, and the importance of work and agriculture. Something inside pushes me to write. I am always fighting this inner battle. A powerful spirit is pushing me to write about Teshuvah. All of my thoughts are focused towards it. Indeed, Teshuvah takes up the biggest part of Torah and life. All of our individual and collective hopes are built upon it. Teshuvah is a mitzvah that is, on the one hand, one of the simplest mitzvot, since even a fleeting thought of Teshuvah is already considered Teshuvah. On the other hand, it is one of the hardest mitzvot, since it is never completely materialized in this world. I find myself constantly thinking and speaking about Teshuvah and nothing else. So much has already been written about it in the Torah, Nevi'im, and the words of the ancient rabbis. Yet despite all this, Teshuvah is still unclear and requires elucidation. The creative writing that exists in every realm where there is song and life has still not penetrated the depth of Teshuvah. It has not even begun to pay attention to it and to understand its nature and worth. It has not developed its endless poetic nature, and certainly has not touched the surface of its practical side. I feel a push from within to talk about Teshuvah. I am frightened by my own thoughts. Am I indeed worthy of speaking about Teshuvah? The greatest thinkers of past generations, the purest prophets and rabbis, and the holiest Chassidim wrote about Teshuvah. And how can I stand in their company? Nevertheless, I will not allow any weakness in the world to exempt me from my inner obligation. I am forced to speak about Teshuvah. Specifically, I must give voice to both its poetic and practical sides. I must help our generation understand its depth and guide us to actualize it in our own individual and collective lives. Betzalel as a role model for artists. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav that Betzalel knew how to combine the letters of the alphabet that created the heavens and earth. As it is written, Betzalel was filled with the Spirit of God, with Chokhmah, intellect, Bina, understanding, and Da'at, wisdom. And then it is written, God created the earth with Chokhmah and the heaven with Bina. And then it is written, with God's Da'at the earth was opened and the sky was filled with dew. Berachot 55a. The true talent of artists emerges when they have reached such a state of consciousness that the Spirit of God inspires their artistic expression. They are then able to perceive the depths of both the physical and spiritual nature of the universe. In fact, all character traits that are attributed to the Creator of the universe must also be found in the wisdom of great artists. In order for Betzalel to have designed the Mishkan, he must have been inspired by the Spirit of God. He had the Chokhmah, or intellectual ability, to design the physical structure, Bina, an understanding of the spiritual purpose, and Da'at, wisdom, to apply these physical and spiritual ideas in the most precise and intricate details. The description of a true Jewish author. It is impossible for a Jewish author to truly be successful without the soul first going through a spiritual transformation. Any writer who does not focus on purifying his or her character traits, actions, and thoughts cannot be called a true writer. One must have the combination of an inner world that is overflowing with light and emotional greatness, together with a desire to perfect one's own flaws. The ancient rabbis were called sofrim, or writers, but also means counters, because they knew how to count the letters of the Torah, Chagiga 15b. By counting the letters of the Torah, they were transformed into people who synthesized a humble spirit with self-confidence, and thus they deserved the title of writer. Therefore, if we truly desire to revive Jewish literature, we must return to this holy path. We must learn to connect the world of holiness to the world of writing. As it is written, there will be a path, and this path will be called holy, and those who walk down this path will be redeemed. Yeshayahu 35 verses 8 to 9. Creativity must be moral. There will come a time when every poem and every poet will be spiritually transformed. The world will then become aware of the great power and value of poetry. This will lead to the spiritual advancement of the world. The light will expand and break out. Sensitive souls who recognize the impure values in many poems will protest against any lyric that covers up its negativity with a superficial line of kindness or bright melody. This impure spirit, like all types of impurity, will pass away and be destroyed from the world. Beauty will take its place, and poetry will be spiritually transformed. Every poet will begin to understand the great and holy value of his or her poetry. A person will not pick up a pen without first cleansing the soul and elevating the thoughts. Reflections of Teshuvah will precede any new creation. Only then will creativity be expressed in its full purity. The Spirit of God and the soul of the nation will be manifested through poetry. A time will come when immoral poetry will be despised, and the Jewish people will finally say, "As for me, this is my covenant with them," says God. "My spirit which is on you will not depart from you, and my words that I have put in your mouth will always be on your lips, on the lips of your children and on the lips of their descendants, from this time on and forever," says God. Yeshayahu 59 verse 21. Creativity should be effortless. It is impossible to stifle creativity in a person whose soul is constantly creating from its source. When a person feels restricted by a sense of mental fatigue, it is a sign that one perceives one's creation as an act of work and labour. Yet, the more one delves into the essence of creativity, the more one recognizes that there is no work and labour. God created the world with absolutely no effort and labour. Therefore, the more one emulates God, the more one is able to create without experiencing a feeling of exertion. The purest tzaddikim, or holiest people, rise beyond the consciousness of any work and effort. Even though they are certainly willing to work hard, suffer and sacrifice for the sake of fulfilling God's will, nevertheless they are always filled with a peace of mind, and the energy of delight fills their holy souls constantly. The wellspring of intellectual and emotional inspiration swells and pours into them from all directions. Whatever they listen to and feel, everything calls out God's presence. Tehillim 29 verse 9. Everything calls out, "Holy, holy, holy, the legions of God fill the earth with His presence." Yeshayahu 6 verse 3. Then, creative freedom and all its blessings expand within one's mind and heart. At every moment, new worlds are created and formed. Past worlds that were once created disappear and are recreated into a new, higher, holier, more sophisticated and beautiful form. There are no feelings of fatigue, restriction, labour or work. Rather, one experiences only peace and joy. And I will rejoice in God. I will be joyful in God my Saviour. Rav Kook 3 verse 18. What motivates me to write? An open letter addressed to all the youth of Israel who love Torah, 1905. I write not because I have energy to write, but rather because I do not have enough energy to be silent.